Welcome to Ghostly. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
Today we continue our exploration into exorcisms with the movie and real-life inspiration of the 1973 classic horror movie, The Exorcist. Yeah, I was more excited about this episode before I started diving into this story.
Oh, now you're less excited?
I mean, it's going to be a good story, but I think there's some holes in it.
Oh, so after last week, you were kind of falling on the believer side a little.
I think that the Annalise story is a lot more, has a lot more information and is a lot more factually sound than the Roland Doe, or we're going to get into his real name, actually. But I really think that, but, you know, we're going to do this episode.
Okay.
And we're going to see what we come up with at the end.
Okay.
Because that's when we learn everything. We go into these things a lot of times with an expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to the end of the episode, that expectation might have completely changed.
Yeah. Talking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a special bonus for you after the episode. We got to go to the Basement of the Dead last night.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And we did an interview with one of the owners of Basement of the Dead, and he's a skeptical believer, as you'll hear if you listen. But he believes that his haunt is actually haunted.
So, just in case anyone doesn't know, Basement of the Dead is a haunted house attraction in Aurora, Illinois.
Yes.
Wayne's World. Wayne's World.
Party time.
Yeah.
Party on, Rebecca.
Party on, Garth.
I'm not Garth. Wait.
Yeah.
I would be Wayne. I said it first.
I guess. All right.
I'm totally the Wayne of this show. You're
suppose.
totally the Garth. Yeah, so Basement of the Dead, it's a haunted house that I used to work at too. And it's been rated one of the scariest haunted houses in the US.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Were
you scared?
I was scared.
Yeah.
So a couple things. So we actually went early, like before it opened, to do the interview part. And it was like, well, you know, it's kind of windy, so we got to go inside. And there's no like office. It was just like, yep, let's find a room in the haunted house to do the interview. Yeah. So I sat with my back towards shelves full of creepy dolls.
Yeah.
And looking at other amazing, hulking, crazy, scary figures. It was the oddest place I've ever conducted an interview by far.
Yeah. You know, oddly enough, not mine.
Oh.
Well, I was interviewed for the position there, so I've been there before.
You guys were both just like, yep, we're walking around, and I'm just like, oh, hee, going by creepy thing.
And then, what did you think of the haunt when we went in it?
So then we came back a little bit later when it was open and went back through it, and it was a totally different experience. I mean, it wasn't totally light when we were in there for the interview. There were lights on. So then going back through it again, it didn't even look like the same place. Like I sort of recognized some things, but it was excellent. I mean, they have so many, you know, what I like is, yes, they have a lot of great props and makeup and the actors are great and all of that. But they don't go away from the the things that really, those little things that scare you, like the air blast or the horns, or just like putting you through your paces, basically.
Yeah, but being in there, do you feel like there's potential for it to be haunted beyond what they put into it?
Well, when we were doing the interview, I definitely felt that way. I think when you're going through the haunted house itself, you're just kind of so focused on the things that are popping out at you.
You were a little freaked out.
I was. I definitely had some jumpy moments for sure.
And you met a friend.
I met a friend. I met a friend that I'm going to put a picture of him on Instagram. Yeah. This like serpent guy. Oh my, fantastic costume.
I thought you were going to say something else there.
Oh.
When you started with and you were, oh my Fantastic. Sounded like you were going somewhere else.
Oh, no.
Okay. So we're going to put the interview after the episode. If you want to listen, you can.
I recommend it though. I mean, two things. We talk about the idea of just, how does a haunted house kind of work a little bit. I mean, nothing that would like take away the mystique. I don't think, but just kind of, a little bit, how do you get involved in such a thing?
Yeah.
But then we also, we do talk about creepy things that have happened in the haunted house.
Yeah.
And out
in the family run
in the
haunted
family.
house.
Yeah.
It's man.
Yeah. So it's almost like a listener mail, but it's an interview.
Times 10, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, we might have to have him back on
there
at some point. Yeah. It was
definitely
great. It was great. It's a creepy old building in an old town that, you just know there's got to be stuff going on there.
Yes. So since you said listener's mail, I think it's time that we get into the listener mail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm excited about this week's. Again, this is another 2-for one where we're going to do one and then, I'll save he's got like 2 stories. So we'll save one for next time.
Or another episode.
At some point.
I can't promise next time because there might be something that comes up. So this is Frank. He is a listener from Canada. Yeah.
And he's always
north of the wall. He's always been super supportive of Ghostly, and he actually sent us these stories quite a while ago. So I feel bad. It's taken us a while to get to this point. So he's a good guy.
Yeah. So please send us your stories. We're really getting into this now, and we need more stories. So send them in.
Yeah.
And we're excited to read them online. info@ghostlypodcast.com. Okay. So he actually wrote in with a couple of ghost stories that his brother shared with him.
Okay.
So again, doesn't even have to be your story. It could be one that, someone close to you has told you. Okay. My brother lives in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, which is where my family's from originally.
Why don't you sound like it right now?
I don't know. I can't do a French accent. I don't know what a Quebec accent sounds like, but my family is French Canadian.
Well, they just say
or
A
one
after
side
everything.
is, anyways. A?
Yeah.
Where there are many beautiful older buildings, he says, in Quebec.
Yes.
Okay. So this is his brother. His brother's roommate is a fellow skeptic such as myself. So Frank's a skeptic when it comes to supernatural. His roommate had just gone through a successful treatment for throat cancer. Yay.
Yay. We love survivors.
Well, we love everyone, but
we really, really love survivors. We're really happy
awesome.
for them.
Yes. They had to remove any strong cologne and perfumes from their place because his roommate's hypersensitivity towards scents at the time after going through chemotherapy.
So can I stop you for 1 second?
Please.
Though? I thought you were going to say colon, and I was like, wait, he had throat cancer. Why are they removing his colon?
No, cologne.
Okay, cologne. Okay.
Their apartment was in a townhouse structure, often referred to as row housing. We call them row houses in Chicago, so that makes sense.
I don't call them anything.
Okay.
Houses.
The units had been converted into separate apartments, my brother's being located on the first floor. The parlor at the front was so not the French room. The parlor at the front
making fun of me.
was converted into a bedroom, and beside it was the old dining room, which was also converted into a second bedroom. It had a long, narrow hallway running the length of the apartment and ending in their kitchen. Beside the kitchen was their living room where they did most of their entertaining. My brother's roommate had a full-length mirror which was placed in a diagonal so it reflected his room and the front hallway. He was in the process of getting ready to go out for the evening when he saw someone enter the apartment and walk down the hall. It was common for them to invite friends over and go out with them afterwards, so he wasn't sure who it was and went out into the hallway to introduce himself. There was a strong scent of men's cologne.
Colon.
No, cologne.
Okay.
This upset him because everyone knew not to bring strong scents into the apartment. He went down the hall and into the kitchen to confront this individual. My brother was in the kitchen and had no idea what or whom he was upset with. There was no one else in the apartment and the front door was locked. When they went to investigate, there was, however, a fading scent of cologne in the hallway.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, smells are a really big thing when it comes to ghosts and everything, I've noticed. And smells can take you back to a time. Like, there was this one diner I went into, and I smelled the syrup that they had, and it reminded me of a place that my dad used to take me when I was a kid.
Oh, interesting.
And it instantly took me back to that moment.
Wow.
Smells are sometimes even more distinct than sight.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have a scent memory for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear your spooky stories, and if you have any, email them to info@ghostlypodcast.com, and we might read them on the air like we read Frank's.
Absolutely.
We love them.
We love it. Super fun.
So this would typically be our poll section, but since we haven't done our exorcism debate yet, which will be happening next week, we did not have a poll. But one will be coming after our next episode, which is the debate about exorcisms. We really are interested to find out how many of you believe that exorcisms are real.
Yeah, and next week's going to be super fun, and it's coming out almost Halloween.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of nervous about next week.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know either. I mean, I keep thinking I have the answer, but then I go back and I change it.
Yeah. It's really, I'm not sure. I'm looking up a lot of spooky stuff. It's going to be good.
There is a big difference in how I feel after last week to this week.
Okay.
So 1 week, just total difference.
Yeah, so who knows after one more week.
Yeah, right.
But it's going to be the October 30th, and that is almost our anniversary.
Yay. 1 year.
1 year of Ghostly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Never missed an episode.
Nope.
In fact, came out with more.
Yeah. Yeah, we added.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is usually where Rebecca would tell us the ghost story. Mm-hmm. The ghost story is pretty much the movie, though, right?
Kind of. I mean, so you kind of brought up a good point when I was trying to put together information for this because, we're talking about exorcisms, which is not really ghosts. I mean...
Well, it depends on how you view it.
Right, exactly.
Some people would say that a spirit can possess you.
Sure.
Some people call them demons.
That's true. So, it kind of goes together, but it's a little different. So we thought, since really most of the episode's going to focus on the real story behind The Exorcist, because that's, I think, the one less known, I thought I'd just spend a little time telling you the ghost story of the movie.
All right. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay. So there's 3 things I want to talk about. One is that the entire set for the home, right, the McNeil home, caught fire and burned down a few weeks after they started filming, and it delayed filming by 6 weeks. But interesting.
Wait, I thought you said after they finished.
So they started filming, and a few weeks
after
in,
they started filming.
Right.
Okay.
The set caught fire. It was like it was like they knew the cause. It wasn't like how did it start fire? But even still, it was like how did that happen? But what was weird was that Regan's bedroom, not touched at all.
Wow.
The whole house burned, the whole set, but not the bedroom. So that was kind of weird. So then when they came back to start filming again, they had a priest come in to bless the set.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. Then I just thought this was, so then there's a lot of deaths associated with the film. And there's a quote from the main, one of the main actresses, Ellen Bernstein. She was the mom.
Okay.
She explained it pretty well. She said, I don't know if it was a jinx, really, but there were some really strange goings on during the making of the film. We were dealing with some really heavy material, and you don't fool around with that kind of material without it manifesting in some way. There were many deaths on the film. Linda's grandfather died. The assistant cameraman's wife had a baby that died. The man who refrigerated the set died, which... Side note, they refrigerated the set.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was not acting or special effects. That was
really cold.
Yeah. The janitor who took care of the building was shot and killed.
Wow.
She said, I think overall there were 9 deaths during the course of the film, which is an incredible amount. It was scary. A couple other deaths associated were 2 of the actors in the film. Jack Gowron, which played Burke Dennings.
Oh, okay.
And then...
So he really died.
He really died. And
wow.
Vasilika Malieros also died. She played Father Karras's mother. So they both died in post-production while they were, doing post-production. But it was creepy because both of their characters died in the film.
Did they just like incorporate that into the film? Like,
no,
was the director supposed to play a more of a role or something?
No, they both it was after filming was over.
Oh, okay.
But before the movie came out. Like it was during post production that they passed.
That director guy freaked me out. I gotta
say.
say.
He was a weird guy. It's a weird character. Also, Max von Sydow, the big older priest, who actually was really not old, but they made him look old. His brother died on his first day of shooting. A night watchman died. A special effects expert died. And the son of Jason Miller, who played Father Karras, his son, who's like a kid at the time, was almost killed when a motorcycle hit him. So
he was saved.
I guess.
I mean, you look at it as almost killed. I'm looking at it as still alive.
Still alive. So what do you think about all these deaths?
I think a lot of them that you said probably would have happened even if there wasn't a movie like this being made. This movie is inspired by a true life story, but the actual movie itself is fiction.
Yes.
The book is fiction.
Yes.
So
Changed
it's
a lot
inspired.
Of details.
Yeah. So many details that I would say it's hard to even say that it had any comparison to the real life story.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Annalise one, that had some pretty direct correlations.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it's really a lot more difficult for me to see that.
Yeah, there's some things that we'll see, but yeah. And then I just want to mention two more things which I thought was super interesting. Number one was that people literally got sick watching the movie. Just because it was like a movie like this had never been released before.
Yes, people were throwing up.
People were throwing up. They had, all sorts of craziness. And then also during the film's Rome premiere, so in Italy, in Rome, where the Vatican is, lightning struck a 400-year-old cross atop a nearby 16th century church.
Wow.
The night of the premiere.
Well, another thing happened, too, after this film is that a lot of people converted over to Catholicism.
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest turns in modern day into Catholicism.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Where nowadays people are turning from Catholicism, they were turning towards it then.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't that long ago.
No, this is 70s.
40-something years ago.
Yeah.
So you say 50 years, and there's such a big difference in our times.
Definitely.
So... do you have anything else
that's
about
it.
that?
That's okay. I mean, there's a lot with the movie, but I think those are probably the big highlights of creepiness.
All right. Well, then I say we should go ahead and take a short break, and we will be right back.
Okay.
Announcing the brand new Southside Podfest.
Southside.
4 totally free nights of live podcasts on Chicago's South Side.
Front room.
Get your earholes filled with amazing word sounds from some of the best podcasts around.
Sausage.
The Southside Podfest is November 6th, 20th, 27th, and December 4th. All at 8 p.m., all at Lawler's Bar, 6854 West Archer Avenue, Chicago.
What the hell is a podcast?
See you there!
All right, we're back. Just like our last episode, this episode we will be talking a lot about the inspiration of the movie The Exorcist. Rebecca will chime in from time to time to tell us what matches up with the movie and what doesn't match up with the movie. There's a lot that does not match up with the movie to me.
I might also just be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, right? Yeah. This is the story of an anonymous boy up until maybe today. Maybe I'm going to expose his name for the first time. The name that they gave him was Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim. I don't know where they came up with Robbie Mannheim.
Yeah, that Roland Doe makes sense because John Doe. Yeah, okay.
But his real name might have been Ronald Hunkeler. So his story would eventually go on to inspire the book The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, and that would be used to make the movie The Exorcist. So I'd imagine that they had to change a lot going into making it from a book to a movie.
Definitely. Though I've read the book, and seen the movie, and I would say that they did a pretty good job.
Which one's scarier?
Ooh. In some ways, the book, but so the director's cut.
You had to pick one
I had to
right
pick,
now.
Oh man. Well, I would say the scariest is the director's cut of the movie.
Okay, director's cut of the movie.
Yes.
Okay, because of the spider scene.
The spider scene and the flashes of the demon face. That just gets me every time. Also, the medical scenes. I'm sorry. Medicine in the 70s was terrifying.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yep.
But so even starting off, the setting was a little different than in the movie. It was not in the 70s. It was in the 40s, probably the later 40s. Actually, like January 1949 is when Roland's story really happened. I'm going to call him Roland. We believe he might have been Ronald.
Yeah, but I think Roland is good to go with. And it started in the mid 40s or whatever, late 40s.
Yeah. 49.
Yeah.
The early life of Roland's family, they were Lutheran.
I was raised Lutheran. I gotcha.
Yeah. And I just thought that was kind of weird because what other time does a religion turn somebody to another religion for help?
Yeah.
That's just kind of odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
During the 1940s, they lived in Cottage City, Maryland. He was an only child. His Aunt Harriet, which actually I heard her name might have been Mimi.
Okay, maybe that was a nickname.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Was his main playmate growing up.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It was. They didn't really have many people around. She was a spiritualist.
Oh, kind of like, from California, the crazy house. The Winchester Mystery
House.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of talks about the spiritualist.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more, go listen to the Winchester Mystery House episode.
That was one. Also, during our Abraham Lincoln episode,
oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
We talk about it, and we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And even during the Edgar Allan Poe episode.
Oh, yeah, that would be the other. Edgar Allan Poe and Winchester Mystery would give you a good solid
absolutely.
background in that.
So she was a spiritualist that introduced him to the Ouija board because he expressed some kind of interest in it. And so just like the movie, there was that casual scene with the Ouija board, right?
Right.
Well, yeah. In this was a daily activity for Roland.
Well, it looked like it kind of was for Regan, too, in the movie. But she was just doing it on her own. She didn't have an aunt that was showing her.
Yeah, exactly. And she was doing it on her own, where I think the aunt used to help him with this.
But then I think he would play sometimes on his own. Or at least I'm just assuming that. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's his early life. Now we go on to all of the possession stuff.
Okay.
And this began in early January 1949. And this took place when he was 14 years old. After Aunt Harriet died unexpectedly.
That must have been very traumatic for him.
It was, yeah. His playmate died. I mean, his playmate,
Right.
his aunt, it was someone that he was really close to when he wasn't close to that many people.
Right.
So the family started experiencing strange noises at that time. Roland reported hearing scratching sounds coming from the floor and walls of his room. Yeah. Furniture moved on its own. So one of the first signs that something was going on is that water dripped from pipes and walls, but there were no faucets. Like, I was like, well, it's an old house. This is in the 40s. You're going to hear a drip occasionally, but there were no faucets that were dripping.
Interesting.
So then there was some levitating vases when Roland was nearby.
Okay.
Roland's mattress would suddenly move.
Now that's like the movie.
That is like the movie,
Yeah.
yeah. So the family originally thought that it was Aunt Harriet making communication with them. She was a spiritualist, so she thought that maybe,
Yeah, she's coming
she
back.
was trying to communicate with them. But then things started to feel evil to them.
Oh, like more bothersome, or I don't know.
Just evil.
Yeah.
Like it was clear that it wasn't Aunt Harriet, or that Aunt Harriet might be evil now. They tried to communicate with her on the Ouija board.
Yeah, I had heard that he himself just on his own was trying to do it, which, as we know, never use a Ouija board alone. We said that in our Ouija episode.
Yeah.
Again, another episode to go back and check out.
And that also talks about spiritualists.
Yes.
And the whole spiritualist movement. Actually, that would probably be our biggest
now that I think about it.
episode. Yeah. But they did it as a family at one point, too.
Interesting.
And they weren't reaching out to her. They realized it.
Okay. They realized it wasn't her at this point.
It was not her at that point. Yeah. So the family sought the help of every expert that they could find because Roland was experiencing some hard times.
So wasn't like he was experiencing more than the family was?
Yes.
Okay.
Roland was definitely succumbing to something. So they got doctors and psychiatrists involved.
Sounds like the movie.
Yeah, and they really couldn't give them many answers.
Well, yeah. I mean, back in
1949.
I mean, did they know about... I'm sure they knew about epilepsy, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not mental illness so much.
Yeah, I mean, mental illness was something that you just dealt with on your own.
Right. I mean, like depression or...
I mean, there would be the town crazies, as they would call them, but they would be put in jail.
Right. It wasn't like, oh, you have schizophrenia, here's some medication.
Basically, in the 50s, if you had a mental illness, you would act out and you would be thrown in jail.
Yeah. Or locked in an asylum.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they eventually turned to their Lutheran pastor, Luther Miles Scholes.
Oh, that's awesome that his name was Luther.
Yeah, right?
I mean, you really don't have a choice of what you're going to become if your name is Luther.
Yeah. The pastor arranged for Roland to spend the night in his house so he could be observed.
So, okay, so he spent the night in the pastor's house?
Yes.
That's interesting. So that it's not located in the house, it's located in
the
Roland.
Boy, yeah.
Oh.
But this put doubt into the mind of parapsychologist J.B. Ryan.
Oh.
He wondered if Schultz unconsciously exaggerated some of the facts of seeing moving objects.
Okay.
So with everything I'm going to say, there is a skeptic side of it.
Okay.
And I've read some of the skeptic sides, and that kind of jaded me a little bit towards this particular story. So Schultz advised the family to see a Catholic priest. So they found Father Edward Hughes, like Howard Hughes. He was a local priest, and he requested permission to perform an exorcism in late February of 1949.
Okay, so we've definitely heard that in Annalise's story,
yes,
that you have to ask permission.
Yes.
That was definitely in the movie as well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But these were granted pretty much every time.
Yeah?
And like in the movie, they say it's going to take months.
It's really rare.
Not in 40s and 50s.
I was going to say, not in any example we've
Nowadays,
heard.
It's very rare, but then it was not so much rare.
Yeah.
So he did get approval to start performing an exorcism. So Roland underwent a number of exorcisms conducted by Father Hughes at Georgetown University Hospital. This was something that would happen too. If they were going to do an exorcism, they would get them into a hospital, usually a Catholic hospital.
That's like, I never have heard that before. That's new information.
It makes a lot of sense, though, if you really think about it, because they could restrain them then.
Oh, absolutely. And monitor their vitals. I mean, this is what you would think should happen.
Should, right? Yeah. So during the exorcism, the boy slipped one of his hands out of the restraints, broke a bed spring from under the mattress, and used it as a weapon against Father Hughes.
Oh, no.
So he slashed the priest's arm, and this halted the exorcism.
Oh, wow. Well, I would imagine.
Yeah. A few days later, the word Lewis appeared as a scratch on the boy.
So, like, external.
Yeah, external scratch.
Okay, because like in the movie, there's writing on Regan's stomach, or chest or something, but it's like coming from the inside.
Yeah, and also the writing that was inside, that could be duplicated by somebody that's in a like I've met a lot of people with very fair skin, And like if you took your finger and wrote on their neck, you would see something on their
Right,
neck.
but it would look like an outside scratch. It wouldn't look like that inside.
Yeah, that was exaggerated, I think, for the movie.
I think so.
But it was a scratch.
Okay.
So yeah, Lewis. So a cousin to Roland was attending St. Louis University. So the family saw this as a sign that they needed to go to St. Louis.
Okay. So even though they were in the East Coast, they were on the
Yes.
East Coast, they came to St. Louis for the exorcism.
Which was good for Roland because then he had friends. He had friends in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
So it worked out well for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
A cousin to Roland that was attending St. Louis University, she put them in touch with Father Walter H. Halloran.
Halloran.
He says it's Halloran. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would say Halloran, but okay. Halloran.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him and he introduced himself
Interesting.
as Halloran.
Well, you know
Like
what?
he
He's
ran
a
from
priest.
hell.
He ran from hell. All right.
Yeah. Halloran was the last survivor of this particular exorcism.
Interesting.
Lived to like 2005. So there are some
Wow.
interviews you could find on YouTube of him.
Crazy.
Very interesting guy. And also Reverend William Bodern.
Okay.
So Bodern was the one really in charge of this.
Okay. We always got to have the older priest that kind of knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
The younger priest that's like the one taking up the case.
Well, Halloran said that his responsibility was to restrain the patient.
Well, that sounds a lot like the movie.
And then he said he would come and talk to him in between exorcisms.
Okay.
So, so together, both priests visited Roland in his relative's home. Bodern was granted permission from the archbishop to perform another exorcism.
Okay.
Bodern and Halloran, according to their reports, because they had to keep daily journals after given permission to do the exorcism, that was the only thing that they had to do in order to do the exorcism, is to keep daily reports of what was happening.
Sounds like a little bit of micromanaging on the part of the archbishop.
Of the bishop, yeah. So they noticed that he was calm and normal during the day, but at night, after settling in for bed, he would exhibit strange behaviors, including screaming and wild outbursts.
Now that's different than the movie, because in the
That is.
movie, like it starts kind of that way,
Yeah.
but then by the end, she's
24/7.
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, like the movie, she was using a different voice.
She was.
Yeah. But Roland was always using his own voice.
Interesting.
Yeah. And how many kids do you know at the age of 14 want to go to bed? I mean, I wanted to sleep a lot, but he just got around new playmates and everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he did not want to go to bed.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, kind of interesting. So they said also that that Roland would enter a trance-like state and start making sounds in a guttural voice, like the.
So he did use a little bit of a different voice sometimes.
But it was always his voice. You could hear his voice through it, they said. The priest supposedly also saw mysterious flying objects in the boy's presence and noted that he would react violently when he saw any sacred object presented by the attending priest.
Okay.
Whenever they'd bring out a crucifix or anything.
Sounds like Regan in the
Yeah,
movie.
it sounds like Annalise, too.
Sounds like Annalise, too.
They believed he was possessed by not one, not five, not six like Annalise, but 10. demons.
Whoa. Wow. We're getting high up. In the movie, it's just one.
At one point during the movie, she says, they said that they heard a lot of voices, but it was only one.
Yeah.
That's what the older priest said.
It's interesting, too, because I had read this and then I noticed it in the movie. They never give the name of the demon in the movie.
No, they don't.
It says it's the devil, but.
So, how they knew that he was possessed by 10 demons was because they saw an X scratched into Roland's chest.
Oh, so the Roman numeral 10.
Yeah. And they knew it was possession, obviously, because a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines moved from the boy's thighs and snaked down towards his ankles.
Now that's different. I've never seen that. I mean, I've seen people or heard of people, I should say, that have things scratched into them or whatever, but that it would move in front of their eyes. That they didn't even do that in the movie.
Yeah, no, they didn't, but that's what they said happened. The exorcisms took place or was performed at the residence on Roanoke Drive in early March 1949.
So Roanoke Drive in St. Louis.
St. Louis,
Okay.
yeah.
And you said exorcisms, plural.
Yeah, there was at least one at the residence, if not more.
Wow.
Yeah. And they also used the Roman Rite of 1614.
Was that the same as Annalise?
Yep.
Okay.
So the very old one.
Mm-hmm.
This continued on March 20th, so there were exorcisms. But that exorcism, it reached an unhealthy new level. Roland stood up and started urinating all over his bed and the priest, and began shouting and cursing at the priest.
Wow.
Things about masturbation, where to stick it, where to do this, where to do that.
Well, that kind of relates to the movie then.
Yeah.
Though in the movie, the urinating, that part just that's crazy and in the living room or
Yes.
whatever. But
Yeah.
okay, so all right, I can see they're pulling out some of that.
Speaking of pulling out, yeah, he whipped it out and peed all over them. So the family took Roland to the Alexian Brother Hospital, which was a Catholic hospital in South St. Louis, which is no longer there,
Okay.
for daily exorcisms as instructed by Bodern.
So this is crazy. So obviously it's a Catholic hospital. Saint Alexian or Alexian Brothers is usually Catholic, and then it's and your prescription, sir, is daily exorcism.
Yeah, and he would walk by the receptionist every day, and they'd be like, "Hello, Father Bodern,"
Wow. Good luck with the exorcism today.
Yeah, thanks. So on Easter, Bodern pulled out his secret weapon during these daily exorcisms. They were going on for weeks.
Yeah, because Easter could be in March or April, but I'm guessing April.
It was in April, yes. He pulled out his secret weapon, though. That was baptism. He baptized Roland during one of the exorcisms.
Wow.
And on April 18th, a miracle occurred in Roland's room at the Alexian Brothers. It was the Monday after Easter, so Roland awoke with seizures. Things were getting pretty bad. He yelled at the priest, saying Satan would be with him always.
Wow.
So Bodern called up Halloran and also got another priest, William Van Roo, and they assisted Bodern. Halloran stated that during the exorcism, words such as evil and hell, along with others, marked appeared on the teenager's body.
Oh, wow.
So during the part where they read off all the saints, the boy's mattress began to start shaking.
Okay. This is sounding like the movie a little.
Also, in his guttural voice, Roland kept saying, "You forgot to say one word. You forgot to say one word." The word was Lord.
Oh.
Like he said, in the name of Jesus Christ. Well, he was telling him, no, you have to say, in the name of our Lord, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Something like that.
Weird.
It was really odd. Yeah. So the priest shouted out that St. Michael would battle for Roland's soul.
Okay. So not Jesus necessarily, but St. Michael's coming in.
St. Michael's, they're sending in the big
He's
guns.
the warrior.
Yeah.
All right.
Roland asked for the window to be opened and started to look like he was going to throw up.
Oh.
He said over and over again, "He's going." People at the hospital said that they heard a huge boom at this time. And 7 minutes later, Roland came out of his trance and said, "He's gone." Then he went to sleep.
Wow. That reminds me, what's the movie? A Poltergeist, another episode.
Yeah,
they're here. This time it's gone.
During this, Roland broke Halloran's nose.
Oh, geez. You
Yeah.
punch him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he didn't know what happened, too. He punched him, and then he said, "Did I do that?"
Aw.
And he said, no, I injured myself.
Oh, he's trying to protect him.
So the exorcism was done. At one point, he had done the same thing. Roland had done the same exact thing and said he's gone. But then in the middle of the night, he came back. But at this point, he was gone.
This was St. Michael did the trick.
St. Michael did it.
Okay.
Yeah. After the exorcism, the boy went on to lead a rather ordinary life, Halloran said to a reporter.
Okay.
He supposedly got married and had a child, which he named Michael after the saint who battled for his soul.
I did read that. I mean, I know he says he doesn't remember anything, but I did read that he had a vision of like Michael fighting the devil
Yes.
and something like that.
Yes,
But I don't
he
know how
did.
real that is.
Yeah, for those 7 minutes.
Yeah.
That was his vision. And he worked for NASA.
What?
Yeah.
Very science focused. I
Right?
would expect him to like maybe be a priest himself or something.
I
Guess he
don't
just
know.
wanted to get away from that all of that.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But he remained Catholic, actually. He never went to back to Lutheran.
Oh, he converted. Oh,
Once you go
interesting.
Catholic. So, I don't know. What did you think about all that?
It's super interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, it's definitely there's definitely elements of Annalise in there, but
Yeah.
not quite as dramatic, or not even close to as dramatic. Obviously, he survived. Number
Yes.
one, he didn't like become malnourished or necessarily like have the physical issues that she did.
Yeah.
But there's actually, I mean, and while it is very different than the movie in a lot of ways, I can see where the movie got the ideas.
I mean, that was the first major telling of an exorcism.
Yeah.
And that's where Blatty got the idea from it.
One thing that I did hear that I wanted to mention was that
I think
go
we
ahead.
should take a break.
Oh, we should take a
before
break
we
first.
say
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah.
Before we go into stuff. Okay.
So we'll be right back.
Okay. Hey, Pat. Fall is in the air.
Ooh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that means cooler weather, football, and of course, shopping.
Shopping?
Yeah. Back to school shopping, starting college shopping. I got a new job shopping, new season shopping. I just like shopping.
Oh, okay. I get it. Change means time to get some new stuff. And I bet our listeners would like some ghostly gear.
Oh, yeah. Great idea. What kind of gear are we talking about?
I don't know. How about some ghostly t-shirts and sweatshirts?
Yeah. And not just ones with the ghostly logo, because those are really cool. But how about also hashtag Team Believer to really show our team colors?
And hashtag Team Skeptic, of course. So we've got men's and women's styles and even kid and baby sizes.
So cute.
It is very cute. And I also added a phone case and a water bottle.
Nice. Where can our listeners get all this great ghostly gear?
That's pretty easy. If you want to get ghostly gear, just go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on merchandise up at the top.
Perfect. Go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on merchandise to get your great ghostly gear.
All right, we're back. So you were going to say one more thing.
Yeah, I just was going to mention that I had read that they boarded up the room that the exorcism happened in.
Yeah. And
Again, obviously
shortly
this
after.
was public in that hospital, so like everyone knew what was happening in that room.
Well,
I mean,
not
everyone that worked
necessarily.
there, but
Not necessarily. This didn't really get out, and they didn't know who or where.
well, they
They
didn't.
didn't know the full story for years.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like the hospital knew. It wasn't. I mean, maybe not every worker in the hospital, but like
Yeah.
it was not like they were believers. I mean, the people. I mean, this is a Catholic hospital. It wasn't like going to someplace with a bunch of people that didn't believe. So
Sure.
they felt that room was something that they didn't want other patients to be in, and so they closed it off.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Well, I did want to cover some of the evidence I found against it.
Oh, you don't want to save this for next week?
No, I want to get this out there so we
Yeah.
can think about it for the week.
I think it's a good idea.
We don't need to debate it or anything like
Okay.
that. I'm
I'll
not going to
try
say this
not
is
to.
fact. This is just what I came across.
Sure.
That's all I'm stating. And this is from the 1993 book Possessed, The True Story of an Exorcism by Thomas B. Allen.
Okay.
He offered the consensus of today's experts that Ronald or Roland or Robbie or whatever his name was just a deeply disturbed boy, nothing supernatural about him. He goes on to say a lot of things, but he did do an investigation. Or actually, another author, Mark Opsanik,
Okay.
I think that's how it's pronounced, questioned many of the supernatural claims associated with the story, proposing that Roland Doe was simply a spoiled, disturbed bully who threw deliberate tantrums to get attention or to get out of school. So during his, he did a whole investigation, and he reported that Halloran, who was present at the exorcism, never heard the boy's voice change. Now, what they did with a lot of this, to make the movie The Exorcist, they used their diaries. They used the journals of Halloran and Bodern. And this was also what was done for these investigations. And I believe that Opsanisnik, I believe he actually talked with Halloran as well.
Okay.
He thought that the boy merely mimicked Latin words that he heard.
Okay.
So speaking in other languages, well, it was very common for every church service to be done in Latin.
I don't know if the Lutherans did, but you know what? They might have. I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
But he went through several exorcisms.
Yeah, right. So
they were all done in Latin.
Right.
Yeah. He questioned the story of Hugh's attempt to exorcise the boy, and the subsequent injury that he received to his arm.
Crazy.
And saying that he could find no evidence of such an episode had actually occurred. So during his investigation, he discovered that the exorcism did not take place at 3210 Bunker Hill Road in Mount Rainier, Maryland, which was where Hughes did it. The boy never lived in Mount Rainier.
Really?
That's what he found.
I don't know, because there's pictures of the house and stuff.
The boy's home, well, no, that's the one on Roanoke.
Okay.
In St. Louis.
Okay.
The boy's home was in Cottage City, Maryland, and that's what I said in the beginning,
gotcha.
too. Much of the commonly accepted information about his story is based on hearsay. It is not documented and was never fact-checked. So a lot of it wasn't even documented in their journals, but later on, they said these things. There is no evidence Father E. Albert Hughes visited the boy's home, had him admitted to Georgetown Hospital, requested that the boy be restrained at the hospital, attempted an exorcism of the boy at Georgetown Hospital, or was injured by the boy during an exorcism or at any other time.
Huh.
And there is ample evidence refuting claims that Father Hughes suffered an emotional breakdown and disappeared from College City community, which was another big story that they said.
Okay.
I didn't include it in our notes because it's been pretty much refuted.
Okay.
So, yeah, they go on to say a lot of things about him, and some skeptics have weighed in and stuff. And one of the things that they said was that this is a quote from Joe Nickel. He's a skeptic.
Okay.
Nothing that was reliably reported in the case was beyond the abilities of a teenager to produce. The tantrums, trances, moved furniture, hurled objects, automatic writing, superficial scratches, and other phenomenon were just the kinds of things someone of Roland's age could accomplish, just as others have done before and since. Indeed, the elements of poltergeist phenomenon, spiritual communication, and demonic possession, taken both separately and especially together as one progressed to the other, suggest nothing so much as role-playing involving trickery. And also there were reports that people that knew him, they've actually interviewed his neighbors. His neighbors were only found by initial, though. So in these reports, they only went by initials. They they were telling them that he was a prankster.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of weird that these things didn't happen to him 24/7 when he could be having fun. It happened to him when he was laying down in bed, going to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that you said that struck me a little bit was the idea that he could move, that teenagers can somehow move objects. I'm not sure about that one, but the other things I could see.
A lot of this stuff happened like when no one was around.
Oh, so he would say that it moved.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're saying. So that in their journals, they never actually said that they saw things moving. Although I heard Halloran say that he did move a vial of holy water across the room.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So I just wanted to get that out there. So we
Okay.
have something to think about for the week
Sure.
before our debate.
And I just want to mention too, there's another book that, because I had heard about that possessed book, but then I just came across this other one called The Devil Came to St. Louis, the true story of the 1949 exorcism.
Oh, okay.
And it's by Troy Taylor, who's a good Chicago guy, or at least a guy that's done a lot in Chicago. And he did a lot of the research that we used for our Resurrection Mary episode. Anyways, I haven't read the book. I'd like to read the book. I have no idea what side he lands on, but just wanted to put that out there for anyone looking for more information.
Yeah, there's a lot documented about this story now.
Yeah.
But the real thing are in the journals.
Yeah, that would be, there's some
Just
source
get our
material
hands on
for
the
you.
journals.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to dive into that. So we want to thank you so much for listening. Please share us with your friends and family, as word of mouth is our best advertisement.
Yeah, and then you guys can talk about it.
Absolutely. And we urge you, if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more to come. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes. And we got year 2 coming up.
We do, and there's so much more to talk about.
Yep.
We have so many good stories that we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up in November will be our clown theme.
Yes.
Now, we're not going to do themes every single month.
No.
This just so happened that there's 2 clown stories that I really want to tell. The first one is about John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah. And that's going to be at our live episode.
Live on the
Yes.
south side of Chicago at the Podfest.
Woohoo.
So we hope to see you guys all there. And that will be on November 6th.
Yes.
At Lawler's on Archer Avenue.
Yep.
In the south side of Chicago.
Southside.
So do you have anything else to add before we sign off?
Just hope everyone stays tuned to hear our interview with Jason from Basement of the Dead.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome. It was a lot of fun to do.
So,
And go check out the haunted house if you want something scary to do this season.
yes. Our next episode will be Ghostly's Exorcism.
The official Ghostly's Exorcism.
And that will come out on Halloween Eve. So, until then, stay ghostly.
Bye.
All right. So we have Jason from Basement of the Dead here. Jason, how long have you guys had Basement of the Dead? What is Basement of the Dead?
Basement of the Dead is one of the world's best haunted houses. My family has owned it now for, I believe, going on over
9 years or something?
Yeah, I think this is our 10th year actually.
Wow.
And it was here a few years before that.
As Nightmares, right?
Yeah, it was Nightmares, Basement of the Dead. We took it over from George Carpenter, who fell ill, and so we ended up purchasing the haunted house. And since then, we've ran the haunted house since about 2009, I think, or right around there, 2008, 2009, I can't remember.
Sure, and we're in Aurora, right?
That is correct, Aurora, Illinois.
Okay.
Which people remember from Wayne's World.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I don't believe was filmed at all.
No, not at all, right?
But yeah, that's
what they were talking about.
Yeah, when I met my wife, that's the first thing. She's from Minnesota. That's the first thing I said.
there you go.
I have a haunted house around Aurora, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, basically, yeah. So, anyways.
So you've been doing this for a while. Was that this haunted house, or was that
No,
a different
that's been this haunted house. Yeah, we started. My family actually started as home haunters. Like that's which I think a lot of haunted house people kind of start as that, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom and reluctantly my dad let us pretty much just take over the yard and destroy it, and just gravestones and scarecrows and all that kind of stuff. And we did it for a couple of years at my parents' house when we were in high school and all that stuff.
Okay.
And it just got to the point where it was so successful, and we had so many people. Like we'd have 1,000 people at Halloween.
Yeah,
at a yard haunt, you know. So we kind of got to the point where, you know, as we got older, it was always kind of an idea like, man, let's try to do this professionally. And the opportunity presented itself, and we're here now. You know?
And you guys do more than just the haunted house, right?
Yeah, we
I was gonna say, like, like when you say it's like you bought a place, a physical space, or I mean, like, I don't know.
We bought this space, and the name Basement of the Dead.
Okay.
And then whatever was inside these walls. But since then, we have changed this place 200%. I mean, it literally has been changed.
There's probably not much of the original.
Right.
I would say zero
Mm-hmm.
is left of the original. Even prop wise, now props just don't last that long.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's anything left from the original owners, but anyhow, but it's, you know.
I think a lot of people think, like, or I guess I would say, I always thought of when I was growing up, like a JC's haunted house or something where, like, they rent a space and they kind of turn it into a haunted house. But it's like, for you, no, this is your year-round business.
Yes, and it's just haunted houses. And don't get me wrong, I think that's like the first haunted houses I ever went through when I was a kid. I remember them were JC's haunted houses. I just think, and I love it. Charity haunted houses are fantastic. But it's just like anything else. It's just like today's consumer kid customer. They want these like blown out movie type scenes and stuff like that. And that's just something that you can't set up in a week or two.
Right.
Literally this place stays like this all the time, and we're building on it. After when October's done, we'll start maybe changing some stuff up. I mean, that's how quick we'll change things. And so yeah, and that's why, like, because it's here all the time, that's why we can build like really elaborate sets and things like that, because we know it's gonna be there for a while. So.
And you guys do escape rooms,
yes,
and zombie laser tag, right?
Yeah, everything. Like I said, we're here, so we are actually we are international escape room builders. We built escape rooms that are in England right now, and Canada. We build them all over the country. So that's another huge part of what we do, our business, which is kind of fun because it, you know, like in the haunted house field, everything you do has a kind of like a horror feel to it. The escape rooms, even though we do some that are horror, but we get to kind of like flex our muscles with some of the other genres, you know, sci-fi and history and things like that. So it's fun to be able to build things that just isn't always scary.
Yeah. I'm sure there's still some element. You're in an escape room, you know, that's kind of scary in itself.
It's scary. No. Yeah, believe me, we do the horror escape room really well. But it's fun. Like we do wizards and we have a cool circus one.
Isn't there a pirate one or something?
Pirate one. We do. We have a cool western one. I mean, yeah. So we pretty much all the major genres of what you would think of an escape room, we pretty much tackle.
Wow, that's awesome. So I wanted to do an interview with you because this place has always been kind of creepy to me. I used to work here too, and so it's dark, it's dingy, it's in a basement. It's the perfect spot for a haunted house. You said that there's some real stories that go along with this.
Yeah. So I've always said in any interview I've ever done, even if this place wasn't a like theatrical haunted house, if you just came down here with none of these props in here, this place is 100-plus-year-old creepy basement. I mean, it is as creepy as it gets. We always have customers say, "Man, those smells and this and that. What are you guys doing?" Well, we ain't doing anything. That's how this place smells. I mean, it's an old basement. So you know, and I've had a lot of you know, ghost hunters, people like that, like wanting to come down here, and I've always kind of because I am, Patrick and I talked before, I am a believer, but I'm also a skeptic. You know, everything that happens, especially above us, is a restroom. So, and the noise does, believe it or not, the noise, you know, even though through all this concrete and everything else, the noise does travel. So you have to obviously have a skeptical ear or eye or whatever when something's happening to say, hey, was it actually something you heard or something upstairs, so on and so forth, right? But we did have a couple different groups of ghost hunters come through, and besides the stuff that they found, which we could talk a long time about that. There's a lot of stuff that happened just to us kind of personally that were one of those things we were kind of shaking our heads like, what, you know, that really just shouldn't happen.
What's something that happened that maybe kind of sticks in your mind, like most often? If you think about it.
Well, we will have, and I don't know if this is true for other haunted houses or whatever, but there's times where like we're in here or I'm in here, and the hardest part. When there's people around down here, you're fine. You know, everyone's talking, whatever. Your mind's not on it. But when you're down here by yourself, that's kind of where it really kind of gets a little creepy. Sure. Especially like when we were in our building phases, we're here a lot, like real late at night. And at that point, the restaurants close upstairs, so you kind of know like, hey, we're the only ones here. Me and my brother, or whoever's the build team. And every once in a while, we'll be down here, and props will just start going off. And which, like, again, like there's either a pressure mat you're stepping on or an infrared laser that you're cutting across. Like, in these things, like, they don't just go off by themselves. They just don't. I mean, they're made to, like, go off when something is triggering.
These are things that cost thousands of dollars that are set to have a specific thing that they do every time this happens.
That's correct. So, correct. And we'll be in, I'll be in one room, and all of a sudden I'll hear something going on. And then, in another room, we'll walk over there, we'll check it, we'll look at the wires, everything is good, we'll step on the mat, whatever, nothing, everything's fine. And then, we'll walk back in the other room, and it goes off again. That's to kind of show, like, yeah, like, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, one of those things that kind of like a confirmation, if you will. Mm-hmm. Now, again, you can look at it as coincidental and all that stuff, maybe, but like I said, when it just seems like it happens frequently enough where you would be like, yeah, something strange is going on.
Sure.
The history of the building is really strange. We have a story on our webpage that speaks of it's obviously an exaggerated story about a fire that happened down here, which obviously that's part of storytelling, it's part of the theatrics of a haunted house. But I can tell you guys this building really kind of, in my opinion, is an enigma. Where there's not, I know what this place was actually a laundry, like a laundry man. That actually is true. There was a fire down here, but there wasn't there's not much information of what caused the fire, what happened,
how much damage,
because when we were building, we early on we saw that there was in the rafters, 100-year-old rafters, you can see the burns and stuff where they replaced rafters and things like that, and some they just kind of scabbed over and things, So I know there definitely was a fire. Yeah. I don't know who got, and then just the history of the building of people kind of coming in here and owning the building, and then all of a sudden just leaving, and then nothing happening, and then this for long periods of time, and people coming back in here and stuff. So just really strange history of this building just alone. I've had we've been working here, and I've had older townspeople kind of come up and tell us stories about what their father told them about this building. Wow. About again, I can't confirm any. I mean, honestly, because obviously some of this history is really kind of
hearsay. Someone
tainted.
told somebody to
but
tell
I heard a
somebody.
couple things. I heard about the Underground Railroad going through this building.
Oh, wow.
I heard about Capone and them guys using this area as ways
dumping
to
grounds.
And honestly, there are you can tell that there were tunnels out of this building that had been covered up.
Okay.
And you could physically in this in this part right now against that back wall there it was. You can clearly see where there was a tunnel that people were using, and it's been concreted over, bricked up, and concreted over. So again, it's one of those things where obviously there's not going to be good documentation of that stuff because it's all kind of illegal stuff to begin with. But I've heard from and we're on a river and all that stuff. So so there's definitely some kind of some crazy history in this building, and like I said, you kind of almost feel it when you come down here.
You do definitely.
Well, I will say I feel it because we're in a room with clowns and dolls right now.
This is the main office. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a little. So I love that there are. I will say to me, I love those real stories. A haunted house to me is always the creepiest place because you won't know when it's fake or real when you're in it. I was wondering, my question, I guess, is a little bit more, in the real base, but also fantasy, which is how do you come up with the ideas for your scenes? I mean, are you inspired by the hauntings or the things that you hear, the stories?
Well, that's a really good question. Yeah, so, inspiration-wise, I mean, obviously, movie stories. My family was always big into Halloween. My mom's side of the family, very much believers in the supernatural, things like that. My dad's side, not so much.
And your mom actually works in the house, too.
She works there. Yes, it's a family affair. My dad has always been the kind of the family, which is good, and that's kind of like where I get a little bit of both. You know what I mean? It's something really, in my opinion, for me to say a story about it. I really believe that it's it happened, and usually someone else is with me to kind of corroborate the story. Again, it comes from our imaginations, I guess, from from movies and books and things like that. You know what I mean? We try to stay as original as possible. But like anything else, like most haunted houses, some themes just kind of run together. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But we do have we have a Catholic upbringing, so there's a room in here that's kind of our underground type chapel thing where it has the nuns and everything. Because obviously a lot of that those visuals are vivid in my mind when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah, we're doing a huge exorcism month. So the Catholic Church goes hand in hand with those.
Yes. So we play with that. And like I said, we try not in our haunted house. We try not to. I don't think that we cross the line too much about what we say and stuff like that. But some of the visuals you see is definitely pretty racy when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
Like we always kind of say, like, hey, we're not here to insult people, but we are here to scare people. So
and I will tell you, you do. I'm always scared when I go through this haunted house. Yeah. You laugh and you say hi to the people that you know. You're like, hey.
Well,
but
I can't help
it. I'm screaming. So
and she always wants to go in the front of the line, and I told her that that's like the worst spot. You're going to get scared the most.
Usually yes, but we do try to scare. The whole. We work hard at trying to make sure everyone gets
equal scare,
gets something. Yeah, gets something.
But if they scare the first person, always they're going to have a line that's hours long.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like I get scared the most when I'm in the front. So
have you ever been in the back?
I used to always do the back because I thought that was the safest.
Oh yeah, no,
It's the middle is the safest, right?
Well, yeah.
nowhere is safe. Is what
we actually have actors that we tell, like, hey, we pick certain actors, say, hey, you're going to make sure, like, most of the time, most of the actors are kind of like free to scare whoever they want, but sometimes we make sure that, hey, you're going to hit the middle. Just so we're trying to make sure everyone has a fair experience, or not fair, but same experience. And then we even have our props set up so we're like our haunted house is to the point now where we no longer can send in groups of 2 or anything like that. And literally there's so many people here that we have to send in a little bit larger groups. So we'll make sure that even like if the first person triggers a prop, it won't we give it a second delay so it doesn't scare the first person, but the next person it will scare, or the third. And we already have that planned out. So again, throughout the haunted house, you're walking through, the first person's usually setting everything off, but they're not necessarily getting hit by it. It's the other people getting hit by it.
Sure,
it's time.
sure.
So again, like going back to my original story about when props go off by themselves, like we have those things dialed in so precisely that when something goes off, it's kind of like, why the hell did that just go off? It shouldn't do that,
Yeah.
So anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I have a question for both of you, which is, what would you say is your favorite scene that you've had at the haunted house that you worked in or that you've built, like just over the years? What kind of stands out to you as a memorable scare scene?
I'll let Jason take that one.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick, since you worked here, buddy, it's been a long time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guarantee you, whatever scene you were, we've probably changed the whole.
Oh, I'm sure, but just
I know, like there's two really, I would say. I mean, I obviously I built the haunted house. I'm partial to everything, but two really cool scenes over in the basement. One that is like the nun chapel type thing.
The chapel's come a long way too.
Yeah, I don't. Have you seen it? You haven't been through this.
No.
Right? Yeah. We put a lot of money into just kind of like a whole this year. But anyways, so when you go through this year, you'll see like wow. And then we have a room that literally the floor kind of like moves and everything. So when you go in there, and
spoiler alert.
Yeah, and then and it's kind of like kind of looks like hell. Big big giant demon inside of it and everything else.
Okay.
So but yeah, that I would say that the two rooms down there. In here, just the artwork in here is in our 3D shattered haunted house. Our artwork is obviously like
there's a lot of black light.
It's all black light, but what's really unique about us is most blacklit haunted houses, obviously because it's black light, they light it up with a bunch of light, right? Mm-hmm. So even though it's black light, it gives away
a lot of scares.
Right? What we do is we give everyone a UV flashlight.
Yes, it is different.
So it's you only see what you're pointing that flashlight at, and that I think really makes us this heads different than anything else anyone's doing when it comes to black light. Because now the clowns and everything can literally be hiding. You're pointing the light. And 1 foot from the light, the clown's hiding, and you don't even see the clown until it's too late, and then and he or she has scared the crap out of you. So,
how many square feet is this?
In total, it's over 12,000 square feet. Wow. The exact number, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because obviously you're walking. Plus, it's a giant maze. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
You're in here for like I said, most of the time people are in here for about a half hour. Now, you get people scared, you're going to obviously move a lot quicker, or you have the people who just get terrified. They can't move. They just can't go to the next room, so it takes a little bit longer. So, but I would say about average, the average customer comes through in about a half hour. It takes them to get through the attractions.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's people that wait in line for 3 hours, take one step in the front door, and say, "Nope, I can't do that."
We literally had that last night.
Oh wow!
It's amazing. And they're okay with it. It's like, hey, we really pride our. Besides us being of course one of the best in the inside, the outside. We throw a party on the outside.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're known for. I mean, really
There's
what we're known
DJ,
for. Yeah.
Food, drink, actors on stilts. I mean, just amazing.
Yeah, it's we come to learn that when people are waiting in line for 3 to 4 hours, you really have to keep them entertained.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I will say, I'm
fire
sure,
breathing and everything.
I know, but I will say, I'm sure any listeners that have been to haunted houses, that is not typical. So that's really great.
I don't know any other. I mean, I've read. Obviously, I always look at reviews to make sure we're doing our jobs, and I've actually had people on their reviews say we had so much fun waiting in line. I mean, where have you ever?
Right.
Ever heard a review like that? So when I read things like that, I do smile. It's just hey, we're doing something right. I mean, so you come down and you buy a ticket to go in the haunted house, but literally you're going to be entertained for as long as you're down here. We're going to entertain.
Yeah, right. There are people that come when it opens and just hang out and go last thing. Mm-hmm. So they hang out for that whole time when they could be in line waiting to get in, but they wait just because of the party.
I am a haunted house aficionado. I've gone to many, and I have waited in many long lines and then had 10 minutes of time. So and nothing special while I was waiting except for like one chainsaw. So I'm going to, this is definitely a good experience.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot more than that.
Yeah. All right. So, how about one more spooky thing that's happened to you?
Okay. I'll tell you this story. This is actually a kind of a fun story. So, a couple years ago, my wife and I are going in the haunt industry. There's a thing called the Legendary Haunt Tour, and the idea is a couple of the best haunted houses in the nation. They stay open like 2 weeks after the season's over, so all haunt, because I don't, as much as I love haunted houses, I'm always at my haunted house, so I don't get a chance to go and see other haunted houses, that's why I do. I have a passion for it. So so there's this thing called Legendary Haunt Tour where other like really good haunts will stay open, and so my wife and I took a trip to New England to go see some of these haunted houses, and so we're like in the Boston, New England area, all that stuff. So one of the stops during the day was we got to go to Salem. Right?
Awesome.
Which I love. I mean, it was kind of like one of my bucket list things. I definitely wanted to go see Salem and all that kind of stuff. And if you haven't had a chance to, if you can get past a little bit of the knickknacks, touristy stuff, it really like go to some like cemeteries, like some really amazing, cool things there. But anyways, so my wife, she was there and she was like really gung ho about wanting to go to a fortune teller, or not a fortune teller, like a reader or whatever,
Tarot card reader.
Not even tarot card reader. Whatever. She's and like I said, she's kind of like also kind of a ghost skeptic, but this is something that she just wanted to do. We were in Salem, whatever. So so she wanted to go get a reading. So I said, okay, yeah, why not? We're here. Let's do it. So she goes in and we're going. I just figured I'd go in with her. We're going together. We're in a waiting room. And the guy comes out and says, okay, well, we'll take Megan here. And he's like, but you got to stay here. And because I can't get both of your energies or whatever. So I'm like, oh, that's fine. Go ahead. So he takes my wife in the back. And so I'm sitting there just kind of thumbing through a magazine. And there's a girl sitting at the counter that's checking people in. And she says, and let me say, like, I was not wearing any of my Base in the Dead garb or anything like that. So just take that for what it's worth, okay? So I'm sitting there, and the girl looks over at me and says, "Hey, how are you?" I'm saying, "I'm fine." And she's like, "I am also a psychic." Okay. I said, "Oh, that's it's cool, whatever, And she goes, she looks at me, she goes, "You do something in like the Halloween industry, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she's like, she looks at me, she goes, "You own a haunted house in a really, really old building." And at that point, I'm like, and my eyes are, I'm like, are you kidding? Like, how the hell? I mean, like, honestly, like, I was not like, dressed up, anyway. So, I said, yeah. I said, that's
do you recognize me?
I said, it's amazing. She goes, I can also tell you, that inside your walls, you have old walls, and there's places where you could see where there was holes in your walls, and now that have been kind of like either boarded up or something's been put over them. And I'm like, well, yes, there has been. She's like, and I know you're interested. She's like, whatever you do, don't open those holes. Wow. So it was just like, and I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah. She's like, there's some really weird stuff back behind that stuff. So, again, I want to be a skeptic, right? Yeah. But like, is that information that's on your website? No. So it's not like, because obviously she had your name. She could have Googled you, found out. Maybe, but it wasn't even like we literally just walked in a place. Right. There was no like pre-planning this and that. Like my wife isn't on like she would like it was one of those things where again I am like skeptic. I like like all those what was that Long Island medium and all that. Like I get it, but that was an experience that happened to me that there's like no way in hell. There's just no way in hell. I wasn't talking to her. I wasn't there for a reading. I didn't give her anything. Like literally, I was looking through a magazine, and she came up with that.
And she didn't get any money for that, or
No,
anything.
she was just sitting there. She was just
Yeah.
that day. They take turns. Like she was a receptionist while he was back doing the reading.
Wow.
That's
So,
crazy.
Anyhow, so that was that's pretty wild. That's one of the stories I got.
That's a great one. Well, thank you for sharing.
Well, how can they find out information about the Basement of the Dead?
basementofthedead.com. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
And you have a pretty active Facebook page as well.
Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Snapchat. I can't even tell you where to find that stuff. I'm so old now. I have all these kids running it. But yeah, we're on. Yeah, I think we're on just under Basement of the Dead on all that kind of stuff. But yeah. I mean, you know, get information. We're open for the rest of October. We're actually even open into November, and we also do off-season type haunts. We do a Christmas theme haunt, a Valentine's theme haunt, which is like Alice in Wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland.
I saw that last year.
A lot of fun,
that's so
a lot
cool.
of fun.
I
And
did
then,
not know
oh yeah,
that.
it's a lot of fun. And then we also do a St. Patrick's Day haunt. And what's weird is Friday the 13th in December, and there's a Friday the 13th in March that we'll be open those days. And like you said earlier, we still do like a zombie laser tag down here, which is called Zombie Outbreak. That's a special event. So if you go to our website, we'll kind of our Facebook page. We keep people posted when that stuff happens.
All right.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks.